These two filters will make your photos and your videos look way more cinematic. But the question is, which one should you choose? Alright, what's up everyone? Hope you're all doing well. In this video we're going to do a comparison between the 𝐂𝐀 concept Shimmer diffusion filter and with the popular black diffusion filter. Both of these filters have a lot in common, and their main goal is to soften up our highlights, enhance our highlights, and make them pop, make them look dreamy, and overall enhance and give our photographs and our videos a more cinematic feeling and vibe to it. So for the past few months, personally, I have been using the black diffusion filter in all of my videos and in most of my photography, and I have created some of my favorite images by using this filter. And let me tell you that when I'm out there and doing street photography during the nighttime especially, I cannot go out without my black diffusion filter. But recently I got my hands on the Shimmer diffusion filter from 𝐂𝐀 concept, and even though they're really similar, they have one key difference which is enough for me to start using the Shimmer diffusion filter even more. But before I tell you which one is the key difference between the two of you, let's talk about the common things that these two share. So now that we have our two filters out of the cases, let's talk about the first common thing that these two share. And this is basically the glowing effect on the highlights. This is really important if you're shooting during nighttime or when you're doing video and you want a more dreamy look. And this is also really important for portrait photography, because sometimes you want to soften up the skin of the model. Most people do that anyways in Photoshop, so these two filters give you that dreamy look straight out of the camera. The next common thing that these two share is basically the lowering of the contrast of our image. The combination of lowering the contrast and also bloomifying the highlights makes the image look even more dreamy, even more cinematic, even more aesthetically pleasing, let's call it that way. And at the same time, you preserve the color in your images right away. So both of these filters are also part of the Nano X series from 𝐂𝐀 concept, which means that they have nano coatings. So basically what this means is that these are scratch resistant. It also makes both of these filters waterproof, and as far as I'm concerned, I don't see any vignetting at all on my videos or in my photos, which is a huge plus, because as you know, many filters out there, they create harsh vignettes on your photos and on your videos, and sometimes we don't want that. If we want to have vignette, we can also add it later on post. So the main difference between these two filters is that basically the Shimmer diffusion filter preserves the overall sharpness of the whole image frame. This means that the glowing effect on the Shimmer diffusion filter affects mostly the highlights, while the black diffusion filter softens up mostly the whole image frame. By keeping the overall sharpness in our image is really important in my opinion, especially on portraits, where we just want to soften up the highlights and the blemishes in our portrait's face, and we keep up the whole sharpness in the rest of the face and in the rest of the body without softening up the whole image frame. On the other hand, with the black diffusion filter, we get a dreamier effect because it affects most of the image frame. This doesn't mean that the black diffusion filter will make all your images soft. As you can see from the comparisons and from all the gallery that I have shot with the black diffusion filter, all the photographs look perfectly sharp, but at the same time they look so dreamy, and the effect is just mind-blowing. But with the Shimmer diffusion filter, you get that extra step of sharpness, which is also really welcoming in many scenarios. And the second difference which separates these two filters is that basically for the black diffusion filters, you get to choose from 4 different power levels of that dreamy effect. So basically you can choose how much of the dream effect you want to apply to your image and get that exact power level for your filter. Personally, I got the 1/4 power level of the dreamy effect on my black diffusion filter, which means there are 2 even stronger dreamier effects filter out there. So after a lot of testing, I found out that the Shimmer diffusion filter makes the highlights even less dreamy from my 1/4 black diffusion filter over here. So I'm thinking that this has basically a 1/8 power level on the dreamy effect, which is not a bad thing at all. Many people choose the 1/8 power of the black diffusion filter as well, because even though you get that dreamy effect out there, you also have a more realistic frame. And as you can see from the sample pictures, the effect looks gorgeous. So I made a few comparisons for video and for photography, and the first comparison, as you can see, is about this tram over here during nighttime, and I shot it with the 2 filters and without a filter at all, so you can see the difference that you can create by using one of these two filters. You can obviously see that we get stronger highlights by using the black diffusion filter over here, but we preserve a little bit of the sharpness by using the shimmer diffusion over here. Personally, the difference in sharpness during nighttime is not that big, to be honest. Both of these filters really made an amazing job and really preserved the overall sharpness of the image frame, but the shimmer diffusion filter did just a tiny bit better for all my pixel peepers out there. And for the second photography comparison, I basically did a small portrait shoot with my girlfriend. I really want to take a few comparison portraits in order to see what the difference is between these two filters in terms of portrait photography and daylight photography. So both of these filters during the daytime really reduced the overall contrast of the image and made the whole image frame more dreamy. But if we zoom in on the eye in both of these images, we can see that on the photography sample which was taken with the shimmer diffusion filter, the image frame is a little bit more sharper. The eye is a little bit more sharper. And this is really important in my opinion if you're taking portraits. You want that eye to be really sharp. Lastly, I also took a few video samples in order for us to compare the difference in the effect. So enjoy a few comparison clips with these two filters and without the filter, so you can get a better idea on the final outcome of the image. Okay, so now that we went through all the similarities and all the differences and we saw a few photo and video comparisons, I think we can make an educated guess about which one of these two filters you should get. My first opinion is that you can get both of these and sometimes choose one or the other. Personally, I will keep using both of these filters, and when I'm on the mood to create really artsy and dreamy images, I will use my black diffusion filter. But when I'm going out there in order to create sharper images, especially during the night for street photography, but I still want to make my images more cinematic, then I will use my shimmer diffusion filter over here. If you want to choose just one of the other, then consider checking out what lenses you have. Again, if you have really sharp lenses, then you might want to get the black diffusion filter over here in order to make your image frame softer and dreamier looking. But if you don't have clinically sharp lenses, then I think the shimmer diffusion filter is the right choice for you in order to not soften up even more your image frame. At the end of the day, this is a choice that you have to make, so consider what is more valuable to you and for your type of work, and I'm sure you will get the right answer. Alright everyone, this is where I'm going to end the video. I hope you learned something today, and if you want to make your photos and your videos way more cinematic, you can find a link for both of these filters down below on the description. Let me also know down below in the comments what you thought of the videos and of the photography samples. Personally, I really love using both of these filters and get the dream effect out of them. And also let me know down below which one you consider buying, because I'm really curious to see what your opinion is on both of these filters. Anyways, this is all I have for you today. Thank you so much for spending some of your valuable time by watching my videos. This really means the world to me, and I'll see you next time. Consider liking this video if you found it useful, and maybe subscribe if you're new here. This really goes a long way. See you next time. Take care. Peace.